These attacks, as you can imagine, have created concern and even fear for students at UC Davis. The campus has taken action by hiring more security for the campus, that while police also patrol. And this morning, we're joined live by UC Davis Police Chief Joseph Farrow to talk more about what's being done. Chief Farrow, we appreciate you joining us this morning. Please break down what specific things that are being done right now to protect students on campus.
Well, currently, we have a Safe Ride program where we're offering escorts and rides to any of our students who need to go from campus to their residencies, either the resident halls or into the city of Davis. So those vans are running predominantly throughout the day. They're upon request, kind of an app base that you have your Uber or Lyft. They simply dial in, we bring a van, and we can transport them to any location within the city. We're also then actually doubling the amount of security efforts that we have currently on campus. We actually hired out some private security companies that we've used in the past. They're in about the campus and a lot of the walkways that our students use to get into the city of Davis. You'll see a lot of security here, and also that really all hands on deck type of approach with our police officers that are on duty 24/7, really canvassing the area. Also trying to help the city of Davis in some of their park areas where people frequent. But we also brought in an abundance of officers out of our UC San Francisco campus and our Berkeley campus who are now coming onto campus to supplement the efforts that we have ongoing.
So quite a bit of law enforcement presence for sure on the campus, but we do know that the UC Davis student that was killed in this attack, that happened at a park that's not far from campus. How is it that students are being protected when they may not necessarily be on the campus specifically?
Yes, and so our Safe Ride programs will transport students from campus to their residence in Davis. So that's part of the solution or the resolution we're trying to use. But we're also at the same time utilizing UC Davis resources in the city of Davis, frequenting those corridors where students walk and bicycle, try to get to their apartments and their residence within the city. So we're supplementing the efforts of the city of Davis, who also at the same time are calling in some resources from some of the other cities, such as Winters and in the Yolo County and the city of Woodland, and then West Sacramento, who are also trying to help supplement resources within the city.
Chief Farrow, how do you calm the fears of these students? We're hearing from them, some of them getting very emotional about how they're feeling after hearing this, that a UC Davis student was killed, and now this morning a third person was attacked. How do you make them feel safe on their campus?
Yeah, no, it is very disturbing. I mean, the entire community, they're very keenly aware of what is going on. They've heard about a lot of things, and in their minds, really perceive the danger, which they should. We go out with warnings periodically to remind our students to be aware of where they are, try to use the buddy system if they can when they walk, realize where there's areas that they may feel like they may be in danger, just to recognize that. Limit to where they go, maybe during the hours of darkness, and just be aware. And so as these cases have opened, we immediately try to get that information out to our community so they're aware of what is going on, and then provide them with the guidance that they can to try to remain safe if we possibly can. But your question is really good. This is a very emotional and disturbing event really in our community, both within the city and on campus. It's very rare for this community to experience very brutal murders, homicides like this. And so there is a lot of concern. And so we try to do that by supplementing and supporting them with more security, more policing, and also really maybe even changing some of the class schedules that more people will be able to work remote, not having to come on campus and be out and about. So those are all things that are being considered right now and trying to benefit our community.
But as of right now, have those classes changed, or is that just a conversation that could potentially happen?
There's a live, real conversation going on right now as we speak, trying to limit the exposure of some of the students, especially in the hours of darkness. We have a lot of classes that occur at night. We can do some of them pretty easily by remote. But that is a charge that the Chancellor and the Academic Senate would have to make that decision. But I can tell you that they are having conversations about that right now.
Chief Farrow, do you think there will be a need for a curfew?
I don't know yet. We're trying to follow the lead from the city of Davis. We're working really, really closely with Chief Pytel. They have an extraordinary team that is working this. We're working hand in hand with that. We'll kind of take our lead from them as this thing materializes and we near resolution. But those are conversations that may have to be had at some point because we don't have in custody the assailant, and that scares us. That person is still at large, and that concerns a lot of people, but I think that's a conversation that we'll have to have at a later time.
And talking about this suspect, we've reported that this person may possibly be responsible for all 3 of these crimes. Can you tell us more? Is there any indication of who this may be?
Well, the description, at least from the second, the homicide involving our student and the one last night, the description is very, very similar. There is not a description from the first one because there was not an eyewitness. But I think you have to have those conversations when you see things that are very similar in nature. People tend to want to draw the line that it's possibly one assailant for all 3. But that hasn't been determined yet, and there's still a lot of evidence that's being gathered. There's still interviews that we're doing. There's forensic information that we're looking for, DNA collection. So as the case gets built and you have a lot of resources working on that thing, that line may become reality or it may not. And I think that has to be seen, and we continue on this investigation and to see what we're really dealing with.
Any indication that a student may be involved in this?
Well, I wouldn't speculate on that. I can tell you that the description comes out to be a young male, probably in their 20s to 22s. Does that fit the profile of a student? Maybe, but there isn't any indication from us or that I've heard to indicate that. But this is, like I said, a live investigation where we continue to go out and try to collect the best information that we possibly can.
Chief Farrell, we appreciate you being with us this morning. We know that there is still a lot of questions about where this investigation stands, where it may lead, and of course, you all are gathering information as you can. We do know that, and again, we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for running the story. Getting the word out helps us immensely, so thank you very much.
It is our honor. And folks at home, police do plan to provide an update at 11 o'clock this morning.